I'm an Iranian Canadian, moved to Canada 20 years ago to go to school and explore a new life. Back in the day, when I was going to high school, I always wanted to be different. I always wanted to be the one who reads different books or looks differently. But coming to Canada, I took no effort, and I was already the different one. Yeah, and every human being that I encountered from any different part of the world opened a new book or a new chapter to me, and I learned a little bit of everything from all these different people. It has been 20 years.
A long time.
Yeah.
2 decades.
Yes. But it has been interesting, and it has been an evolution for me.
That's a really great word, evolution.
Yeah.
My path is similar like yours. Like, I'm from Ecuador, born and raised in Ecuador, lived there until I was 18, moved to Saskatoon to do university. And yeah, so I did my BFA in acting and BA in psychology. And after that, I thought maybe I'll go home, because I didn't really see myself living the immigrant life. Like, one thing is to be a student, and another thing is to face the world, right? And you said something very interesting about how you wanted to be different in Iran, but then here it didn't take a lot of effort, because back home I wasn't really different. I was like part of the group. And then here it was like a cultural shock where they're like, oh, you're different. You fit this box. You are a woman of color. You're a Latina. You're this and that. And I was like, no. So it took me a while to really understand that I was different. Mm-hmm. And even though I've been here for 13 years, even though I'm Canadian now, you're still different, right?
Yeah.
So I made peace with that, but it's similar in the sense of you learn to evolve, you learn to take the good things from your own culture and the good things from this culture and make it like the best of both worlds. Yeah. Right? But I don't think I ever imagined myself living here, moving here, mm-hmm. then creating a family here in my career. Like, it never occurred to me, not even in my wildest dreams. I thought I was going to end up in Saskatoon, out of all places in the world. But I get to call it my second home.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that comment you made about the box. We tend to create these boxes for people based on where they come from, what's the color of their skin, and then we label them, and they stay in that box. And it's sometimes really hard for them to get out of the box. And maybe it has to do with like the perspective of the colonialism. I don't know what's the roots of it, but I never feel that I belong to one box. I've learned a lot from all these different boxes that people come from, and I really related to that word that you made. Yeah. Yes, they label you a woman of color, an immigrant, but you're way more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I learned about the boxes, I had to actually read some history of colonialism in my own land, because Latinos are the byproduct of colonization. Like, colonizers gave us the name. Uh-huh. Colonizers put the name of the whole region, Latin America, right? It's not that we named it like that. Yeah. So to be here is like I had to learn the meaning of what it meant to be Hispanic, Spanish, Latino, so then I can correct people, because people will call me, are you Spanish? I'm like, I don't think so. I wasn't born in Spain, but I do speak Spanish, So I even had to teach myself all those colonialist terminologies, and then understand what it meant to be who I am here, so then I can also teach people. But then when I would go home, everyone was just Ecuadorian, South American, that's it, We do have different ethnicities, right? We have the indigenous, we have the Afro-Latinos, and then the mix, that's who I am, because we're all mixed. And some we do have white Latinos, but they come from like European descendants, or something like that, but like the majority, we're all mixed. Like, that's why I said we're like the creation of the colonization, right? So it was very interesting to define myself And when I had to mark, the ethnicity box or like, where are you from? Or how do you identify yourself? Sometimes I would be like, I don't know. I don't really know, because I do have backgrounds. Like, I have like, my family is so mixed. I do have indigenous background. I have Afro-Latino, somewhere Spanish, I don't know. So it's just like, how do you want me to define myself? So I had to create my own definition as an identity here. And then I learned a lot about the States, because in the States there's a big community, and kind of read also the story, how Latinos there also like identify there. And it's just, I had to do my own history research to be able to identify myself here, which I had to reimagine my life here. Something that my parents don't understand when I talk about like meaning of identity here. They don't really get it, because it's hard for them, right? Like they're there, they're in Ecuador, that's it.
And for as long as you are walking on this path, you keep on re-identifying yourself. Every day you learn something new about yourself, right?
Right, yeah. And every stage of your life, something new comes up. Like, I was just an international student, then became, I was a newcomer international student, then I became an immigrant working here, then I became a permanent resident, then I became a citizen. And then now in my stage of in motherhood, I'm reimagining my life into like, how do I raise a biracial child, bilingual child? Do I ever stop being an immigrant? As like, I'm Canadian, but it's my child who's gonna see, my mom is an immigrant, right? Like, I'm from a mixed family. It's just one of those questions that I keep thinking, like, how is my life gonna look like in 6 years when she goes to school? Yeah. And her culture is gonna be very mixed, right? Right now it's so natural for her to speak two languages, but I'm sure that when she goes to school, people aren't going to ask her, like, what do you speak another language? Or so you keep reimagining your life and changing every time and taking every turn in your life and making the best of it, I guess.
On the topic of belonging, sometimes as an immigrant, or whatever label you want to give it, you feel like you belong to this community. You are there, you are a part of it. But from the outsider's perspective, you don't always belong. You feel that you belong, but they don't feel that you belong. Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for bringing that up. And I guess you've been here for 20 years, so it's interesting. I'll ask you, like, how does it feel to be here for 20 years? Because I'm just turning 13 years here. And I said to my parents that in 6 years, I would have lived the exact amount of time in Canada as the amount of time that I lived in Ecuador, because I left at 18, so by then I will be 36. And I feel like I'm gonna have an identity crisis by then because of that, because I feel like now every time that I go home, my friends call me the Canadian, like I'm Ecuadorian, I was born there, I was raised there, right? All through my early adulthood. Mm-hmm. And then I finished all my adulthood growing up here. So I feel like there's something different. So I think people pick on that. People are like, there's something different, right? Like, I haven't lived there for 13 years. So even though I go every year, it's like my vacation time, my time to spend with family, but I don't really live the day-to-day struggle or ordeal that they have to go through. Meanwhile, here, this is my second home now. This is where I feel like comfortable and safe, and everything is very cozy and familiar. Mm-hmm. But I'm still not from here sometimes. I don't feel like I belong. No matter where I go, people look at me like, where are you from? I'm like,
where are you really from?
Yeah, exactly, right? Or as much as like at school, they try to like really neutralize my accent and stuff like that. They still look at me like, but like, where are you really from? Or like, what's your ancestry? And I'm like, okay, right? So it's always that question that makes you think, would I ever belong here? Like, when does it stop? So then I feel like I'm in the middle of both, where I go home and I'm not Ecuadorian enough sometimes, because many things change. My worldview has changed. I respect many things, but I disagree in many things too. And then I also feel like, although I belong here, I belong in different groups but not in the Canadian whole world view from the outside point of view. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm in the limbo. I feel like I'm in the middle of both. So for you, because it's been 20 years, how do you feel about like when you go home to Iran, and then when you come back to your second home?
Well, first of all, I haven't been to Iran for more than 5 years now, and I don't think that I will get to go anytime soon. But when I used to go back home, there is that sense of nostalgia that is very strong in the beginning. Everything that belongs to past is very precious and honored. But I think it only takes maybe a week or 10 days that I remember why I decided to leave Iran and start a new life somewhere else. And I'm not saying that with any judgment or anything. I just have grown into a person that is, again, the different one. But it's all good. I guess I am easy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that
explanation. We are all different, even if I am Iranian, you're Bangladeshi, you're from China, we are all very, very similar. We all like cookies, we all fall in love, a good joke cracks us up. At the core of it, I think we are all very, very similar, even though we want to look different, we want to label people that they're different. But
yeah. And I've learned that even though if you're born and raised here in Saskatchewan, you could come from a small town and still feel when you come to Saskatoon that you don't belong here, like a newcomer, right? I feel like we're all newcomers at a certain point in our lives, right? Yeah. It doesn't have to be that you're a foreigner.
Yeah.
And that's a concept that I also had to be okay with. Like everyone is a newcomer at some point. Yeah. You can move from a different town, you can move to a bigger city, neighborhood, school. You will always feel like there's something in that you have to learn how to belong.